Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, dear friends and Mrs. Faurus. First of all, my name is Adelia Alfianti. I'm from E-Class Semiotics, with my student number is 1205030630264. Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you my interpretation about the Charles Sanders Peirce theory on these books. So I analyzing this comic using Charles Sanders Peirce theory, semiotics theory. But before we jump into the main topic, I'm going to explain a little bit about semiotics itself, also Peirce theory itself. So semiotics is scientific discipline that study about sign. This semiotic has scientific principle, rules, system, and procedure with a specific and standard that was built by the knowledge that is more open into various interpretation. The semiotics also has so many theories, but there are three major theories in semiotics. The first is Ferdinand de Saussure with signifier theories. The second is Roland Bach with the element of semiology, and the third is Charles Sanders Peirce with the science of sign. So the Charles Sanders Peirce theory, or the science of sign theory, is mainly talking about three components, the main components. The first is the sign, the second is object, and the third is interpreter. So the Peirce write it down as the triangle theories, the ROI theories. The ROI itself has the subclass. So the first is Representament. Each of subclass divided into three. Representament divided into three subclass. The first is qual sign, is based on nature. The second is sin sign, that is a sign based on shape from its reality. And the third is legisign, is a sign based on convention or a code. And also object divided into three subclass. The first is icon, the second is index, and the third is symbols. And the last is interpretant. Interpretant also divided into three subclass. The first is rime. Rime is a sign that can still be developed, or it allows the interpretant to interpret the object with different meanings. And the second is design, and the third is arguments. So I'm analyzing this comic using subclass ROI. So I'm not generally analyzing these comics, but I'm specifically analyzing this comic using the sin sign, qual sign, legisign, the icon, index, and the symbol, also the rime, to analyze this comic. I analyzed several pages analyzing this comic, several pages in this comic. So let's jump to the main topic, I guess. Let's go. Alright, let's jump to the core material. So as I mentioned it before, I'm going to analyze this comic using Charles Sanders Peirce theory, is the triadic theory, the ROI theory. This is a Sherlock Holmes, a study in pink comic. Okay, let's start. So let's start the first page. In this page, this contains the qual sign and the sin sign. For the qual sign is the sound of the gunshot here, and the blood stain, and the military hats in the two panels, the first and the second. This comic depicted the atmosphere of the war of the battlefield. For the sin sign, John Watson, who suddenly woke up covered in sweat and gasping for breath from his sleep. This described the John's condition, who was having nightmare while sleeping. This is also a sign that John has memories of being on the battlefield while working as a military doctor. For the for also in this comic contain the index and the symbol. Index is John Watson woke up from his sleep feeling panic. His breath was short or his gasping for air, and sweat was pouring down because of his nightmare. For the symbol is the detailed depiction of John's facial expression when suddenly awakened from his sleep. Uh, the adding illustrative script, this one is repeatedly, and the word bats are adding in this uh, illustration as a symbol. So for the interpretation is a rim. Rim in this page is John is illustrated having nightmares in his sleep. John then woke up of the sound of scream. Here, calling his name repeatedly coupled with the sound of gunshot. It could be said that this dream was John's nightmares because of his memories of when he was a military doctor. This can be seen from the expression details of the sweat pouring down Watson's face. This page contained the quali sign. John Watson was walking on a park with a walking stick. Here, you can see here, the walking stick in his right hand. This indicating that John was having problem with his right leg. But from that, when John passed someone who was sitting on a park bench, this person called him by his first name, indicating that the person is recognizing John. Also, this page contained the symbol. The symbol is John used a walker on his right hand, symbolizing that he has a problem with his right leg and he has to use tool. He used a tool walk or the walker. So this page could be interpreted that in this panel it's shown how John is walking on the park using a walking aid, is a walking stick on the right here. This could be mean that Watson has or John was having problem with his right leg, which could have been caused by the war experience while he was in the military. Apart from that, there were a stranger who called John Watson with a John, which could mean that the person knew John very well or could mean that they had known each other for a long time. This page contains the quali sign and the sin sign. The quali sign in this page is John and his friend that he met in the park is Mike. They are entered the laboratory where the another person was carrying out a lab test on object where the these strangers also recognize Mike. Apart from that, the stranger who was borrowing John's cell phone here suddenly asked a question that surprised John. This question. We can realize this when we look in detail at John's expression here. This expression. So when he borrowed John's cell phone, then this stranger asked something that makes John surprised. Also, apart from John's surprised expression, the question asked by the stranger gave the impression they give us the impression of being a mysterious, unintelligent, and a creepy man at the same time. And the sin sign in this page is at the beginning of the comic panel. It's shown that someone is carrying out research or laboratory tests using special equipment such as a dropper pipette, Erlenmeyer, and the analytical balance. The object, the icon, this page contain the icon and the index. The icon is the drop pipette here, Alan Mayer here, and the analytical balance here are symbols that appear in this panel. This equipment is a sign or characteristics that that explain the laboratory room. So also in index in this page is the stranger's relationship with Mike, and the question he asked regarding Afghanistan or Iraq that confused John. So in these pages we could make the interpretation that Mike, who was John's college friends. John was invited to the laboratory room where they studied before. This can be seen from John's dialogue in this section. John said, "Whoa, that's different than before." Then John and Mike found someone carrying out a lab test, which could be seen from the depiction of the stranger dripping something, and this person was one of Mike's friend, perhaps. This stranger suddenly asked if he could borrow Mike's cell phone in this panel, but end up using John's cell phone because Mike's cell phone was on his coat. After using John's cell phone, the stranger asked a question that surprised John because he said Afghanistan or Iraq. One of these places, the Afghanistan or the Iraq, is one of the places that gives John a nightmare every night, and the reason why he has the right leg limp. In this page contain the scene sign. The scene sign in this page is the face, which is illustrated in a detail, with the eye is a form of facial expression that can be interpreted in a various meaning. This expression appeared when the stranger learned about John Watson's background and life story without an introduction. Also, this page contained the index. The stranger's explanation was a sudden bombshell for John because it was surprising that the man was able to guess John's background and life story. This is the main reason why John shows this expression with the eye gesture that are described in more detail. The last this page could be interpreted as in this illustration, which depict the eyes gesture in detail. This can be translated into several things such as fear, surprise, or impressed. This expression appeared because a stranger whose unnamed John didn't even know, this person that John even didn't know his name, already knew John's background as a military doctor and his life story regarding his family, as well as the cause of John's limp, and he knew that John had a therapist who was helping him to recover. If we draw a conclusion that what the stranger was talking about is the result of the deduction, only a few people could make. One of people who often made deduction correctly was the Sherlock Holmes. So we can make the conclusion that he was the Sherlock Holmes by analyzing this panel. This panel is the deduction that Sherlock Holmes made by analyzing John Watson. Yep, I think that's all from me. Thank you. See you on the next video. Bye bye.